Hey, everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. Now, of course, as per usual, I'm Michael. Hi and hello. And since we are getting into the middle of the month, it means that it's time for us to do our July COLA update because we got those sweet, sweet inflation numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that give us an idea of where inflation is going. And also, maybe, probably really more importantly, for us at least, is it gives us a hint at where the Social Security COLA or cost of living adjustment will be for next year. That's 2024. And that's going to be applicable for folks who are on programs through Social Security. So things like Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability SSDI, survivors, Supplemental Security Income SSI, as well as VA and Railroad Retirement Benefits, and really all the other iterations that are based off the inflation metric. So today we're going to talk about where the COLA is likely to be for 2024, whether or not it's going to go up or down and how much, and where it should actually be if it were to really help folks on Social Security to really truly keep up with their actual cost of living. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now let's get down to the video. So first things first, let's talk about the most recent CPI numbers out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who is the government agency that, keeps tracks of these types of things. And they came out with the report on the 13th that showed that the inflation overall, the CPI-U, has continued its downward descent in a so-called disinflationary system. In fact, at this point, it has moved down to a 3% increase when compared with June of 2022. What this means is that things are still getting more expensive, but they're now just getting more expensive slower, but not that they are actually getting less expensive. So this is all pretty good news for the economy overall, if the numbers are to believe that is, because the rate at which prices are going up is slowing. But one downside to all this is what it means, at least from the Social Security program standpoint, is that lower increase in costs also means that there is not as much of a need for a larger COLA for next year, like folks received this last year, the massive 8.7% COLA. But to be fair, these new numbers do bring a potential of a slightly higher COLA than was being predicted last month. So it really is kind of a roundabout way of saying that the COLA is likely to be smaller this year than it was last year, but not as bad as we had initially thought so far. Of course, that being said, it is important to mention that overall inflation numbers, the CPI-U, is not the number that is used to set the actual COLA for the cost of living adjustment for folks on Social Security. So if we are going to try to understand where the COLA is going to go with a better than a magic 8-ball guess, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to look at the different CPI numbers, the CPI-W numbers, which are the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It is different from the CPI-U because it measures a basket of goods, so things like toothpaste and food and whiskey drink at home, and any number of other things that people buy throughout the year, and specifically for the average urban clerical worker, and then compares them year over year. And that is, of course, going to be different than just the overall general American. Also, more specifically, it is the metric that is used to create the COLA. So when we look at the CPI-W, the one that actually matters here, at least for our purposes, it went up by 2.3% since June of 2022, which is notably less than the overall inflation, the CPI-U, at 0.7%. Why these numbers are different? Well, we can probably get that into another video because it is kind of a lengthy explanation. But basically, urban clerical workers have a different basket of goods than, of course, the general population. Now, the way that the COLA or the cost of living adjustment is calculated every year is based off a 3-month average of the CPI-W number in the third quarter, which is obviously the months of July, August, and September. So with the beginning of this month, we are actually now in the very start of that sample period. And it also means that a lot of the speculative predictions that everyone has, including myself, are going to get more and more accurate as we get into the final months of the sampling period. Now, when we look at the numbers, though, from the CPI-W, we can see that if Social Security was to calculate the COLA right now off the most recent 3 months information that we have, it means we would see an average CPI-W increase of 3.5%. This also means that if we take the most recent available average Social Security monthly benefit amount from June 2023 at $1,837.29, it would mean that 3.5% increase in benefits would be an increase monthly of $60 $64.31 on average. That would mean that if nothing else changed, if everything stayed the same, then the average Social Security check in January 2024 would go up to $1,901.60, which is actually going to be down about $13 from where it would have been last month at $1,915.07 had that calculation been made last month, which would be down by $13 from where it would have been last month at $1,915.07 because in those previous months inflation was higher. So as we can see, with the decrease in inflation, it's going to have a shrinking effect on the COLA increase, or the cost of living adjustment, on benefits for folks on Social Security. But also the prices of goods and services are going down, at least allegedly. Now, real quick, I have had a hint of trepidation for all this information because the way that inflation metrics are calculated right now, well, those were changed earlier this year in January, which has allowed the inflation numbers to look different, and by different, I mean better, than they would have been had they not been changed. Now, to finish this video off, let's talk about one sticky aspect of the Social Security COLA, which is the fact that, like I said before, the CPI-U, the general inflation number, is going to be different than the one that's actually used to create the COLA, which is the CPI-W, or the CPI for the urban clerical worker. And as a result, the urban clerical workers in general have a basket of goods that goes up less than the overall general American's inflation rate. So there is a difference there, and it also happens, sort of suspiciously, to be always less than the general inflation number. But that aside, the thing is that seniors across our country, well, they are not generally the average urban clerical worker, nor do they have the same costs as the general American. So when the CPI-W is used to figure out how much their daily costs have increased, and thus used to figure out how much the COLA should be increased, the flaw is that seniors usually have a daily cost of living that is different and higher than both the general population as well as the average urban clerical worker. It's like saying I'm going to base my gas and my maintenance budget for my 1967 Chevelle, beautiful car, on the amount of money that I spend daily on my daily driver, my Honda Civic, for its gas and maintenance. But anyone knows who has lived with a Honda Civic or a 67 Chevelle, those numbers are never going to add up. The Chevelle has a need for more maintenance and more gas, but to be fair, it is 100% more interesting and more beautiful than the Honda Civic. Luckily, there is an actual measurement for what the cost of daily living for seniors is, which is called the CPI-E, or the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. Economists, they're not known for being tactful with labeling their data. But either way, the CPI-E does actually compare what real life seniors buy on a day-to-day basis and then compares them. So that gives us a better, more accurate depiction of seniors' financial lives than the CPI-W. And these numbers can give us more insight into what the COLA really should be to better reflect the needs of older Americans. So when we look at the chart, we can see that CPI-E still had a decrease, as is the trend in inflation overall, but from May to June, it dropped down from 4.59% to 3.67%. So even though it dropped, it is still higher than either the CPI-W or the CPI-U. The 3-month average, if we wanted to put it through the same equation for how the COLA is calculated based off the CPI-W, but replace it with the CPI-E, first, we get a 3-month average inflation rate for the CPI-E at 4.56%. This would mean that with the most recent Social Security Retirement monthly benefits being on average at $1,837.29, it would put the COLA, if it was based off the CPI-E, it would go up by $83.78 a month, putting the 2024 monthly benefit for Social Security on average at $1,921.07, which is $11.74 drop from the last month where it would have been at $1,930.81. But it's still higher than it would be when it's calculated off the CPI-W or the CPI-U. Overall, looking at the way that things are going with inflation, it looks like the COLA for 2023 will probably end up being around 3%, if we are to believe the estimates by the Senior Citizens League, which is up from what they had initially had it last month at 2.7%, which is still probably a pretty good estimate. But there are still a few months before we can see the real numbers, and we won't know really truly until October what the official numbers will be. One thing is for sure is that the COLA for this year will probably be much, much smaller than last year, and really probably start to fall even more in line with the traditional increases of the COLA over the last 10 years, which is between 2.5 and 3.5%. Now, this has been Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, or hey, at least found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow. And we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourselves, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy day.